Founded in 1868, Beulah African Methodist Episcopal Church served as a center for civil rights organizing while Prince Edward County Public Schools were closed. In 1959, Beulah's minister, the Reverend A.I. Dunlap, made it possible for African American students who were seniors at Moton High School to attend Kittrell College in Henderson, North Carolina, to complete their high school education. The Reverend Goodwin Douglas, a native of Bermuda who roomed with a Prince Edward County student at Kittrell, accepted a position at Beulah after graduation. He and the Reverend J. Samuel Williams, Jr., who was a part of the 1951 walkout at Moton, helped organize the student protest of downtown businesses in the summer of 1963. Both ministers had experience in civil rights demonstrations elsewhere.
Prince Edward County Courthouse was the site of a May 20th, 1961 rally organized by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People to recognize the 7th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education and to protest the continued closure for public schools. With over 1,000 people in attendance, Roy Wilkins, Executive Secretary of the National NAACP, and Oliver Hill, former head of the legal staff in the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP, and newly appointed assistant to the Federal Housing Secretary, criticized local officials and state politicians for denying Black children education.
Originally called Farmville Colored School, this building was constructed in 1926 to serve as an elementary school. Grades 8 through 11 were added gradually, and in 1931, the school was renamed Robert Russa Moton High School. In 1939, when the new high school across Main Street opened and adopted that name, this school was renamed Mary E. Branch, a native of Farmville who became president of Tillotson College in Texas.
Founded in 1836, Farmville Baptist was one of the 4 churches that young African American protesters attempted to integrate on Sunday, July 28, 1963, as a part of a peaceful kneel. After being denied entrance into the Farmville Baptist, the group of 6 adults and 17 students prayed and sung hymns on the church steps before being arrested for disturbing the public worship of God. The demonstrators were arrested and taken to the courthouse. The minors were then released to their parents, and the 6 adults refused bond and remained in custody. The growing number of protests surprised local law enforcement officials, and nearby jails were deputized to respond.
Constructed in 1951, Longwood University's Jarman Auditorium was the site of a June 7, 1955 community meeting. About 1,250 Prince Edward County residents, the vast majority of whom were white, met to discuss what to do in response to the Supreme Court's ruling the previous month known as Brown 2, which declared that school desegregation should occur, quote, with all deliberate speed. The meeting resulted in the establishment of a foundation to fund a private segregated academy in the event that the courts ordered Prince Edward to desegregate, which did occur in 1959.
When small groups of African American students attempted to attend services at 4 downtown Farmville churches to integrate the traditionally white houses of worship on Sunday, July 28, 1963, John's Memorial, built in 1882, was the only one into which they were admitted. Gordon Moss, the chief academic officer at Longwood College, invited the protesters to sit in his pew. One of only a few prominent outspoken white voices against the closing of public schools, Moss's opposition incurred social and professional costs to his family and himself, including his leadership role at John's Memorial. Moss's home was located across the street where the Longwood Admissions Building now resides.
White residents of Prince Edward County were not unanimous in their response to the closing of the public schools, and differing opinions threatened to undermine the established institutions, including the Farmville Presbyterian Church, founded in 1844. Its pastor, the Reverend James R. Kennedy, spoke out against segregation and the closing of public schools at a June 7, 1955 public meeting to discuss the preliminaries for a private whites-only school. However, some members of the congregation opposed the South Carolina natives' response. Caught between his personal convictions and the will of his congregation, Kennedy elected to resign his post in June of 1956 rather than divide the church. The basement of the church and others nearby served as classrooms for the white Prince Edward Academy when it opened in September of 1959.